Welcome to Class with Skeul, where Black American history, news, and real issues are taught with clarity, structure, and purpose. This is not surface-level content. This is a timeline, a record, a correction. Every episode is built to teach what was done, what was fought for, and what was taken. From revolts to wars, from policy to resistance, we break it down so it can be understood, remembered, and never rewritten. Because history that isn't taught clearly can be distorted, and history that is distorted can be used against the people it belongs to. Here, we focus on accuracy, on connection, on truth. Not just to inform, but to preserve. Not just to explain, but to expose. Because this isn't just about the past. It's about understanding the present and recognizing what continues. Each video is part of a larger structure, so nothing is isolated and nothing is forgotten. Stay focused, stay aware, stay connected. Cry aloud, spare not. Lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and shew my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sins. Isaiah 58:1.
Episode 4, The War of 1812 and the Negro Fort. Part 1, From War to Opportunity. By the early 1800s, the system of slavery in the United States had expanded across the South. Plantations were larger, laws were stricter, control was more organized. But resistance had not disappeared. It had adapted. And when war came in 1812, it created something new: opportunity. The War of 1812 was fought between the United States and Great Britain. But for Black people living under slavery, it was more than a national conflict. It was a chance. The British understood this. They made a strategic decision to weaken the United States by targeting its labor system. They offered freedom to enslaved Black people who escaped and joined their forces. And many did. Thousands of Black men made the choice to leave plantations and align with the British. Some became part of a unit known as the Colonial Marines. They were trained, armed, organized. This was different from earlier resistance. This was structured military experience. They weren't just escaping. They were learning how to fight within an organized system. And they used that training. Black soldiers fought alongside British forces in multiple engagements, including along the Gulf Coast. Their presence disrupted the plantation economy and forced American forces to divert attention. But the most important outcome wasn't just the war itself. It was what came after. When the war ended in 1815, the British withdrew. But they didn't take everyone with them. Some Black fighters remained in Spanish Florida, and they didn't return to slavery. They built something new. Along the Apalachicola River, they occupied and fortified a former British military post. What they created would become one of the most powerful symbols of Black resistance in early American history. It became known as the Negro Fort.
If you've made it this far, you're not just watching. You're following Black American warrior history in its full timeline. On Class with Skeul, every episode connects, showing resistance, strategy, and power across generations. If you're tapped in, support the channel. Hit like so more people see this. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Turn on the notification bell so you're there when it drops. And share this with someone who needs the full story, not just pieces. This isn't random content. It's a structured history. Stay locked in. The next episode goes deeper.
Part 2. The Fortress of Freedom. After the War of 1812, the Negro Fort stood as a direct challenge to the slave system in the South. Located in Spanish Florida, it was more than just a refuge. It was a fortified community, armed, organized, and independent. The people who lived there were not hiding. They were prepared. Many of them were former colonial Marines, trained soldiers who understood tactics, defense, and coordination. They were joined by escaped enslaved people from nearby states along with some native allies. Together, they built a stronghold. The fort was heavily armed, with cannons and supplies left behind by the British. It gave them a level of defense that few resistance groups had ever possessed, and that made it dangerous to the system. From the perspective of American slaveholders, the Negro Fort was a threat that could not be ignored. It represented more than escape. It represented independence. It showed that Black people could not only resist slavery, but build and defend their own communities outside of it. And it created a ripple effect. Enslaved people from surrounding areas began to flee toward the fort. Word spread that there was a place where freedom wasn't temporary, it was protected. That kind of movement threatened the entire structure of slavery in the region. So, the United States responded. In 1816, American forces moved against the Negro Fort. They were determined to destroy it. During the attack, a heated cannon shot struck the fort's powder magazine. The explosion was massive. It killed a large number of the people inside almost instantly. The fort was destroyed, but even in destruction, its impact remained. Because the Negro Fort proved something that could not be erased. Black resistance had evolved. This was no longer just escape. This was defense. This was organization. This was the ability to build, hold, and protect space. And that idea would not disappear. It would carry forward into the next phase of resistance, into the Seminole Wars, where Black fighters would once again take what they had learned and push it even further.
If you made it to the end, stay tapped in. Like this video so it reaches more people. Subscribe to Class with Skeul for the full timeline. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. Drop a comment. What stood out, what should be added, and what you want covered next.